Exodus chapter 8 through 11. You're going to learn today, there is none like me. Not only my hand, but I'm going to stretch out my hand. In this order, tomorrow at about this time, I'm going to cause it to rain grievous hail as never seen in Egypt ever. So, get all your stuff, animals, servants out of the field, or they'll die. Pharaoh's servants that believed got their stuff. Pharaoh's servants that didn't believe left their stuff. So prior to that, God had already come and entered 3 contracts with Pharaoh. He entered a contract with the frogs, and because Pharaoh saw a short bit of rest or relief after God had fulfilled his part of the contract, he got angry again. So the lice came. When the lice came, the magician said, "This is the finger of God." Have you ever seen the finger of God? The finger of God can make everything in the depths of your skin itch from head to toe and cause your household to become unbearable. The third thing that we did was the flies. So, now we're at the hail. And the hail came with one other thing along with it. But in his response to the hail, when Pharaoh wanted it to end, he said, "Go and tell your God to stop the hail, and I'll agree to let his people go." Well, Moses responded to Pharaoh and said, "That's not what you want, because we will sacrifice the abomination of Egypt to the Lord right before the Egyptians' eyes, and then they will be mad at us." So we have the hail, and I think about the hail whenever I think about Pharaoh decreeing that the people were growing mightier, and so let's oppress them and give them more work to do and come down heavily upon them. And so going on, you have the first 3, then you have the 4th time he's going to go in, and this time he's taking the rest of the plan with him. So there was 2 things. The first one was the hail. The second one was concerning the Passover. So he gave them instructions on how to do the burnt offering. And he said, "Gird up your loins, have on your shoes, and your staff in your hand." The Passover meaning was smite the firstborn, man and beast. The reason is to execute judgment against gods of Egypt. It would be a blood token upon the houses that you are in. When I see the blood, I will pass over you. You will have a day, a memorial. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you. So we're going to start this thing off with what I am about to do. So these things come to pass. Around Exodus 12 and 30, Pharaoh rises up. And all throughout the land, there's a great cry in Egypt. A crying out because the cattle and the firstborn are dead. That reminds me of Pharaoh's second decree. A voice crying in Ramah, weeping, but Rachel's kids weeping, but Rachel cannot be comforted. In Pharaoh's house, to the captain in the dungeon's house, there was death. Not one house in God's people was any found dead. There was a war in the late night hour. So Pharaoh got up and said, "Get out," after he had called for Aaron and Moses. He said, "Take your stuff and bless me." Now remember, he had told them whenever they started this thing off to gird up their loins, have their shoes on, and their staff ready. So they told them, "Let's go." So they borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver, gold, and raiment. Because of their favor, the Egyptians lent them what was required. And they journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, 600,000 men, not including kids, with a mixed multitude went up with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle. They had been there 430 years, the self same day. All hosts of the Lord went out. Oh, we all remember that self same day when God's people entered into Egypt. So they left the self same day in the month of Abib. I'm beginning to understand something about God. Everything is in his time. Everything is in his hands. Everything is on his schedule. I'm beginning to understand about a God who can be provoked, and a God that understands the imagination of men. I'm beginning to understand a God who watches as you take his creation and use it to create things like the atom bomb, to demolish people in an inhumane way. And he's long-suffering, but he's also provoked. He's already got it in his hands. Every word that needs to be said, every person that needs to be in a seat, everything that needs to be staged to have a conversation, to get things done the way he said they were going to go. So people, don't be afraid when you look up and see war. Do the will of God. Keep your eyes focused. Don't be afraid. Be covered by his blood. He is your medicine. He is your healing. I also hear that mother whose husband went off and left you with 5 kids and put a heavy oppression upon you. A load that would be grievous for 2 to bear. And you waited under the weight of the oppression, and you let that oppression cause you to cry out, and you let it allow you to become a better person, and you let it allow you to love others. But God saw. He saw. And God is God. And sometimes God puts things in motion that will exact who God is. And so although you have no hate or contingencies upon the matter, God is still God. So God will requite and tear down things that have exalted themselves as God. So while you're coming out and you're shouting and you're blessed, and all you have to do is keep your eye on me. If you could just keep your eye on me, Could you keep your eye on me? You're coming out. You're coming out. Just keep your eye on me. You'll be there in 3 days. As you're coming out, you'll be there in 3 days once you reach the wilderness. So you still have to cross the Red Sea. You still have to do a few things. And while you're in the progression of coming out, God will be exacting. And as you begin to make your journey 3 days, you will see all of your enemies. And I do like how I saw God having chariots, and it makes the parting of the Red Sea so much more intriguing to me.